5:45. Everybody here on time. I'd like to thank the parents, first of all, for coming tonight and supporting your students all year long. The winter sports season is a very long season. It's probably don't have to close during the I coach, I know it's a long time. It's a lot on everybody. Thank you for picking up your kids every night and bringing them to practice over vacation. It means a lot that you do that. Special thanks go to the Chazy Athletic Association. Charlotte and Davis is over there. We wouldn't be able to do this without them. They set up, they come early, they bring the soda, they bring all the snacks. If you don't know, for the soccer uniforms, traditionally the Athletic Association has put in the majority of the money for our school uniform through bottle drive and through all the fundraising. So we're pretty lucky that we have the Athletic Association to help us out. We have a bottle drive April 5th, this Saturday, 9 o'clock in the parking lot for any of the athletes who can help out. They've also purchased a new ice machine that will be available to the sports team. So we thank you guys very much. Special thanks to Hometown Cable, Calvin and Sam, for coming to all of our games. I've said this before, and it's really nice, and I hope all of the students here understand how special it is that they come and tape all of your games. Every once in a while, I'll be sitting home at night, and I'll see a soccer game from 15 years ago. See Mr. McCullough running around, you know, and it's nice. It really is. You guys are lucky that you can get all of your games taped. You have the ability to buy all of your games to keep them for yourself. It's really nice to have. Thank Mr. Blair. He said he'd be here tonight. I don't know if he's here yet. Mr. Blair attends the majority of all home games, and it's nice that he's there every night. You can count on Mr. Blair to be there. Nancy Vesco, Sandy Martin, Mrs. LaPointe are the ones who volunteer all of their time at all home games for setting up concession stands. That's a lot to ask, and actually nobody asks them. They do that on their own will, so we thank them a lot. I'd like to thank all of our coaches tonight. Again, it's a long season. They put in a lot of hours, and they do a wonderful job. Thank you, coaches. Tim LaPointe is not here. It goes without saying. Everyone always thanks Tim because he's a great man for what he does for all of you guys and girls. Steve Perry, most of you know, if you're around 8th period, Mr. Perry comes down every day before basketball games, helps pull out the bleachers, cranks up the basket, does the floor. We couldn't have games without Mr. Perry. Is he here tonight? No, he's not. If you see Steve, he does an awful lot for your kids. I won't go through the order of events. We have another point I wanted to bring up. I've only been here 5 years. My first year here, we had, I believe, 5 teams. We had modified boys, modified girls, varsity boys, varsity girls. This year we had, the girls had a modified B that played in the CBAC. You didn't know that. Did a wonderful job. We had a modified A, a JV, and a varsity. We had modified JV varsity boys. We had a JV cheerleading, varsity cheerleading. I think we had, let's see Jeff, I think we had nine students playing hockey with us in town this year. I think overall we had about 120 athletes participating in winter sports, which is really good. I think our percentage of students playing athletics is unbelievable compared to other sports. First of all, we have, with modified B girls, a new program, we have Coach Linda Gofer pick it up and speak on her.
Good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Diana Lindbroker, and as Brian said, I coach the modified B basketball team this year. First of all, I'd like to second Brian's thanks to Tim, our bus driver, Brian, and Tuesday, and everybody else who was instrumental in getting our modified B team this year. I thought that was a wonderful experience for the girls that played with me, and as well as the modified A team, who were able to get a bit more playing time because they didn't have 24 people on their team. So it was very important in terms of developing skills for these girls to have the extra time to play. They did an outstanding job this year. Coming into the season, I didn't really know what to expect. I'm not from this area, so I'm not sure what basketball is like up here. And I really didn't know what to expect. And just looking at where they started in the beginning of the season, to where they ended at the end of the season, it was just incredible, an incredible improvement over every single one of the girls, not without one exception. It was just a wonderful experience for me, and it was a lot of fun. It was just a great, great bunch of girls. Very funny. Had my share of laughs as they did as well. And I had a lot of fun with them. I really did. I think I only have 5 here tonight. Is that right? Okay. Well, this is sort of the story of the season. I've had sicknesses and sprained ankles and God knows what else. But nevertheless, we pulled it through. The last 4 games of the season, we went with 7 players in each of our games because things going on, people sick, someone was in a musical, and those kinds of things. So they really got a lot of playing time, a lot of chance to take what they had learned in practice and apply it. They also, as Brian had said, they played in the CBAC, so we were playing teams in Plattsburgh that are much bigger than what Team Chazy would normally play, and they just did an outstanding job. Just as a quick anecdote, our first game of the season was against Plattsburgh at Plattsburgh, and although we don't keep score in our league, we of course do keep score and we know what happened, and we lost to Plattsburgh in our first game. In our last game, we turned around and we beat them by about 22 points. They just did an outstanding job in improving, applying the skills they learned this season. And I am absolutely proud of every single one of them, not just those that showed up tonight, but all of these people, the entire team. So let's just recognize them individually. Kirsten Parent, I don't believe is here today. She was one who had not played at all in the season, before the season, and she just did a great job coming through. As did Heather Rivers, who had never played before. Jessica Murphy is also not here today. Heather Gay, you are here. Come on. Thank you very much for a great season. Harrison Parker, come on up. Harrison is one of the people who came in with a lot of skill in the beginning of the season and really helped the players who had not played as much, did not have the fundamentals, to learn those fundamentals, and I'm very grateful for that. So thank you very much, Harrison. Marie Trombley is one who, the first game this season, I told the girls that they looked like deer in headlights. They really had no idea what was going on, and Marie is a prime example of that. However, she became my best rebounder, my most aggressive player, and one of the people that if we were playing competitively that I would want to have on the floor every single second of the game. Marie did a great job. Sam Belrose is not here today. She also did a great job. Stephanie Hassler. Stephanie is a multi-talented person. She was in our musical. She missed a couple of games at the end of the season, but she hustled every single time she was on the floor, practice or games. Outstanding season, Stephanie. Thank you. Sarah Munson is not here today. She was one of our captains and one of our high scorers. And lastly, but certainly not least, Jesse Blake. Jesse and Sarah Munson both had exactly the same amount of points this season, which I've never seen before, so that was great. And she really came such a long way this season and became one of our definitely our best players. For quite a few games this year. Thanks very much.
Not bad. We might be out here by 8 o'clock. Yeah, this right now was modified boys and what happened to do one sit in for me tonight?
lot of the same people, echo some thoughts that mentioned. In particular, in no order, Chazy Provost for doing an outstanding job as the board coach this year. That's an essential part of basketball. Somebody that can just book. And he volunteered, never missed always there, and that's something you have to count on. All the coaches here support the Board of Education and the administration all work together. And I want to mention Mr. Perry as well. Mr. Perry is a great help to all of us. And there's a wiring situation, a hoop needs to go up. He's right there when you need him. Mentioning about modified basketball. Didn't have a lot of wins this year, but that's not what we're judging it on. And I told parents as well as the players repeatedly this year. I want to make sure they get a good knowledge of the skills of the game and the knowledge of the game, how it unfolds. And I think we did a really good job of that. We played great defense. One thing that we lack, and we always have, it seems, is height. And this year it seems to be height and facial hair. Playing against teams that 6'1", 6'2", kids who use a razor, not on their legs apparently. So we did play great defense. We learned a lot. By the end of the year, we're taking foul shots or layups off the appropriate foot, both sides. Doing a lot of good things. I think Norcross sat on my bench frequently. And he would say, you know, that guy's playing good defense right there. He's got his hand in the lane. He's playing away from the ball appropriately. And those are things that we want to hear. Because if I have to set the stage for JV, then nothing's going to be accomplished at JV and might not happen first. So really worked on skills this year, really worked on knowledge of the game, really worked on defense. One thing I want to comment on is the number of players going above and beyond the season to play basketball. 5 this year playing AAU. We started a few years ago with 1. So I think this is what we're shooting for. We want students and players to take the game to another level, work on the skills outside of the season. And I think you're going to be very impressed with the team that's going to come through 2 or 3 years. These kids have put their time in the game, and it'll pay off. That's why I say my guys, it'll pay off. Speaking of what's going to happen in the future, hopefully in the near future we'll have 2 brand new hoops out on the basketball court behind the playground. Both the PTO and the Key Club contributed those hoops. We just haven't had the time to do it the right way. And now that the school has a new piece of equipment, backhoe, we pull the old post out and put the new ones in. I think you'll be very satisfied to see. Hopefully we'll get some sort of resurfacing there and hopefully some lights. So this will allow students to play in the summer when it's dark out and something for them to do. I have a little handout as I get to my players, and it's things to do to improve this summer or to spring this summer. Most of my guys, I think a lot of people who play basketball here have said that they have a hoop at home. Basketball is a game that you can really improve yourself just by one ball, and it transfers more closely than any other sport. So if you go by and drive down the road and you see someone working in the game, hopefully it's a little push from the coaching staff here. I just want to rate a few of the things that I put on here. Number 1, 50 foul shots a day. 2, 100 jump shots, stationary. Number 3, 100 dribble and jump shots a day. Number 4, the mic and drill. Those who don't know it, if you went to modified practice, you'd know. Number 5, layups each side, 5 minutes. And practice all the dribbling skills we start practice with. And that's, we work both the left hand and the right hand, weak and dominant hand. They do those things, and this will take you an hour. It may be ambitious to put an hour a day, but maybe it works out to be 3 or 4 times a week. You'll be surprised what that will transfer to. I recommend you go to a basketball camp if possible. There are several of those camps in our area. Maybe if we need more details. We want to be competitive in more than just soccer. Then it's going to be, we have to work outside the season. And I think I've mentioned this to my players several times. So hopefully this brings through. Okay. Let me get to some of our players. I'll just name the ones who aren't here, and I'll get to the guys who are here. They're five of them here tonight. On our team this year, we had a seventh grader, Trevor Diaz, seventh grader, William Stone, seventh grader, Nick Goupel, seventh grader, Paul Sweeney, seventh grader, Jonah Curtin, seventh grader, Corey Ellis, eighth grader, Nick Moyer, eighth grader, Jake Smith, eighth grader, Justin Guerin, eighth grader, Shane Dunbar. Now, there's a total of 15. 15 is a lot to play in a small 7 minute quarter basketball. Everybody got to play. And like I said, I'm sure Coach Lindbrook said, you could see the success, you could see the improvement, and it helped for me a few wins that we had. The parents of some of the players come up and say, your team's really getting a lot better. Your team really plays good defense, so you guys really starting to learn the game. That's what we're looking for. A seventh grader may be moderately weak at that level, can transfer into a real powerful 10 for 11 for 12th grader. That's what I want to make sure that message is for us. Okay, as I call your name, the players who are here, please come up, take your certificate. Michael Henry. Bradley played last year for me and this year, and the king of the box outs. Literally, and knows the game. I can honestly say it. Bradley knows basketball. And I'll have to pat myself on the back a little bit by saying that, because I'd ask him to do something, steal somebody off underneath to get an inbound pass. Bradley's doing it all the time. Really aggressive underneath, knows the flow of the game, knows the plays. Right? And worked on plays continually. He knew plays at various positions. So it's a game that you have to be physical, you have knowledge and intensity. He really wants it. And he'll be successful as he gets into the JV ranks. So that's your modified basketball team. We had next look at the modified A girls. Coach Parsons cannot make it tonight. She left some information for Coach Goodrow, who has graciously decided to speak for her.
When we get to the end, this is her words, not mine. Could I have all the Mod A girls that are here come on up? I'm just going to read what she left. I would like to apologize for not being present tonight. Personally, acknowledge the hard work and dedication that each of these players has shown throughout the basketball season. I had a scheduling conflict that could not be rearranged. I would like to thank the team and captains, Caitlin Howell, Samantha O'Hagan, Jamie Lavelle, our scorekeeper, parents, and all the other coaches and school staff for their help and support. This team has truly been a place to work with, and I hope they had an enjoyable experience. Our record of 4-6 for the season is not reflective of the capabilities of this team. Many of the games they lost were by a by very close margins, such as our first game. They lost by 1 basket in overtime. As the season ends, my advice to this team is simple. Teamwork. Work on it. Make it your strength, not your weakness. Of the 12 players on the Mod A team, 5 players returned from last year's team. For returning players, Caitlin Howley led the way as team captain and top scorer with 76 points. It was a pleasure to work with Caitlin and to witness her growth in confidence and skill. My parting advice to her is work on your layups. Ashley Levine, Tanya Langdon, Chelsea House, and Mary Emery also returned for a second year on Modified A. Each worked hard to improve their individual and team skills, and I wish them well as they move up to JV. Sam O'Hagan was our only 8th grader who hadn't played the previous year. She worked hard all season to develop her skills and confidence and made tremendous progress in her defensive play by the end of the season. She joined Caitlin as co-captain. All 8th graders had to work hard this year to keep up with the 7th grade teammates. The 7th graders were hardworking, aggressive, and extremely competitive. They also took great pleasure watching the 8th graders run after many of their shooting competitions. Much of our offensive strength came from the scoring of Casey Olds, Sam Levine, and Alex Jeffers, as well as consistent offensive and defensive play by Kaylee Courier and Allie Mitchell. There were many memorable moments throughout the season. Unfortunately, this year they were often related to injury or sickness. Both Shoshani Hagerman and Mary Emery spent much of their season on crutches, and thankfully both were able to return before the season ended, even though Mary spent the ride home of the final game vomiting. The only remaining question for our season is, which player should hold the title of most gullible? Thanks again, you're all for an enjoyable season. I'm just going to call your name and you can come over and get your certificate. Caitlin Howley.
Okay, I don't know why I keep standing up there. Asked him if he would get up. He said he wanted an introduction.
This is off with the thank yous. Probably to Mr. Norcross, for everything he did for the season, the schedule, and helping me out. Mr. Brandell as well, for the tip that he gave me for my season. Pat Seymour for making the split gym experience and practice run smoothly. As we all know, the doors were not closed, so 2 teams would be practicing at the same time. Get a little noisy in practice. Mr. Blair for all his support. Anyone who helped with scorekeeping throughout the year, big help, as Mr. Brandell talked about, how important the scorekeeper is. Hometown Cable for showing their basketball improvements throughout the year. Kind of funny to see the first game of our year against Bolton. Sam came and videotaped it for us, and watching it and listening to some of his comments. Maybe they should just kick it in the basket, or as you can see, Mr. Mulligan is better known for his soccer coaching than basketball coaching. 2, by the end of the year, when we played against Westport at home, and the comments more focused on our improvements and the strides that we made to make us better basketball players. That Westport game obviously being a double overtime victory. Any parents for their support and enthusiasm, and anyone else that I've missed for their support as well. Some comments about our season. I had 14 players, made up of 3 8th graders, 7 freshmen, and 4 sophomores. Everyone had a chance to play in every game, and everyone scored at least a basket at some point during the season. That's an important thing. We started the season 0-5. Around the mid-season, I sensed we were coming to a fork in the road, and I asked the players which direction they wanted to go in. I approached the team and how I felt as to whether or not they wanted to focus on just having fun, okay, playing each game, getting everyone in, or if they want to try to compete a little more focus into their game and improving as a team. I had an overwhelming response, a unanimous response from my team, the captains, that we wanted to be a better team. Okay, and from that point on, we really started to make changes in our game and the way we played. After entering mid-season 1-6, we finished the remainder of the season 5-3. The maturity and transformation was best seen for those who were able to watch that Westport game at home. Okay. Players like Saad who were able to step up, and just the overall improvement in our team performance by the end of the season was what I like to see. Having parents come up to you saying how much they appreciate seeing the improvements in our team and their sons really meant a lot to me. I'm just going to say a little bit about, I'm not going to go into talking about each player, but I'm going to mention a few players, mainly the 4 sophomores. Tim Oliver, captain, led by example, tough defense and rebounding abilities. Kyle Baker, captain. Well, most of the season he was laid up with a knee injury. When he did make his return, he really helped us out down low in the paint with scoring ability down low. Nick Sprague, also a captain, led through unselfish play and his decent mid-range jump shot. And the other sophomore that'll be leaving with us and leaving the country as well, Saad, is a foreign exchange student from Mongolia. We've known best for his play against Westport. Timelessly, I remember Calvin talking about Saad throughout that game, where he come from. I was thinking the same thing, which is why I left him out there. And it was the most memorable moment, which I'm sure he'll leave with when he goes back home, was his buzzer beater shot that he made to tie the ball game in the first overtime of that game.
Love you, Sonny.
I'll now hand out certificates. There are 3 people who aren't here: Andrew Goodwin, Sean Martin, and Chris Brockway. And now for those that are here, start with Saad, sophomore. Tim Oliver. Nick Sprague. Jacob Eagle. One point about Jacob, he'll also be leaving us for sure next year. After making his appearance at the varsity level in their sectionals. So congratulations, Jacob. Kyle Baker. Jeremy Lashmore. Matt Goodrup. City boys basketball team.
We have the Chazy girls, first year coach, did a wonderful job, Chazy Eagle. I'd like to start off by thanking all the people that made this season possible. Blair, Coach Norcross, Coach Goodrow, Tim LaPointe, and Kristen Harper, our scorekeeper. And all the parents who made the numerous rides available. We began this season with only 4 returning players. Tuesday Goodrow stole them all. All the regular starters moved up to varsity. I asked the girls to write down 3 goals in the beginning of the season, whether they're team or personal goals. And they range from getting in and playing to having an undefeated season. As a team, we discussed our goals and discovered that we all wanted to have an undefeated season. Practices this year were pretty serious. I'm very proud of how hard all the girls worked through the whole season. Every single player played an important part in the team. These girls came to believe that hard work and practice paid off in our team. We grew in practice and we shared success in our game. We achieved many goals this year. In our regular season, we went 9-1. In my heart, this team's 10-0. We finished 11-4 overall. All of our players scored, and many had high games in double figures. Team captains were Rebecca Beeman, Hannah Lynch, and Jamie Keaton. Hannah Lynch had the high score this year, 20 points. She had 116 points. I'll hand out the awards. Rebecca Gummy Beeman. Hannah the Boldnick. Amanda, my head hurts, Eagle. Sonny Dupree. Brittany Goodrow. Brittany was in 7th grade, moved up to JV. She was like a super weapon. Aaron Ian, the crusher, Lador. Whitney Wilson. Whitney also moved up to 7th grade. Victoria Menard.
himself the following tradition. So I'd like to thank Mr. Blair, the school board, and Mr. Norcross for listening to and accepting new ideas that Danielle Rovers and I suggested to them to start a new tradition with this year's cheerleaders. If you can serve a round of applause. I know that there's always been a heated debate on whether or not cheerleading is a sport. For those of you that doubt or are not sure, let's just keep in mind that, like cross country we run, like football we toss, like soccer we kick, like track and field we jump. We risk our lives in building pyramids like the Egyptians. We have injuries just like every other sport, and we're just as dedicated to every other sport. This year's JV and varsity cheerleaders had no idea what to expect with two new coaches and two different styles of coaching. Who could not be here asked me to speak for her, and these are her words. I'm sorry I can't be here. I had a prior engagement that I had forgotten about. However, I would like to say a few words to Lori about this year. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Blair for taking time to sit down with me and Lori to discuss the uniforms and other changes that Lori and I want to put into place for this year. He gave great advice and guidance and showed a large amount of patience and understanding of the specific needs of the cheerleaders. As a first-year coach, I was excited to get back into cheerleading. The girls as a whole were very receptive to the new ideas and stunts that I brought with me, as well as the new cheer ideas that Lori brought with her. After the initial jitters of having two new coaches and two different specialties, this year went fairly well, with a few minor setbacks. I enjoyed working with JV, who could be counted on to make me laugh anytime through the year. They made a huge amount of progress, and by the end of the year, they did not look like a first-year squad. I am very proud of this year's JV cheerleaders, but I'd like to they were all first-time cheerleaders who began the season not knowing much about the sport or even what they were in for, but were more than eager and willing to learn, and learn they did. Within 2 weeks, they learned each sideline chant and cheer that the varsity should teach them. What's even more impressive is that they created their own halftime lineup cheer and did an awesome job with it. I mostly coach the away games, and I can definitely say that the bus ride to the games with the modified and the JV basketball players and the JV cheerleaders are definitely unforgettable. So thank you guys for that. This year's varsity. Squad had our share of ups and downs, sweat, tears, disagreement, personality clashes, and there were nights when the girls went home exhausted and sometimes frustrated. But through it all, they always gave us the best they had. They were pushed hard this season because Danielle and myself knew that with good coaching that they had in the past and our new ideas, that they were better than what they gave themselves credit for. And in the end, I think they came to believe in themselves as much as we believe in them. I'm proud of the way they stuck together this season as a squad and always put their best effort forward. Danielle wanted to express this to the varsity. Varsity girls, after some reassurance that they were capable of the stunts, were willing to try any stunt that she presented to them. Oftentimes, they brought ideas to us and showed the skills to be able to put things together at the last minute. The competition went really well, and I'm proud of how it ended. The girls came together and made the changes necessary 2 days before the competition and did very well for their efforts. I'm proud of how they progressed over the year and very excited for next year's squad. I'd also like to thank the varsity basketball players and cheerleaders for the ride home. That's as far as I'll go with that. And I'd like to take this chance to thank Greg and Tim Oliver for stepping up and helping us spot for our competition. And I'll put up the awards to Mr. Foster. Throw that one. Jennifer Ledoux, unforgettable. Scott Phelps, who's not here. And now for the varsity, Kiki Simpson. Kelly Bayshard. Sarah Gordon.
Wait.
No, no.
I'm going to say it anyway. Well, this year the cheerleaders and the coaches went through a tough time. And even though it was a tough time, we stuck through it together, and therefore we stuck through it as a team. And of course, with the year of cheering, it was also, there was a lot of fun times. And in those fun times, we got to know the coaches better and also the team. And we just wanted to thank Danielle and Lori for everything that they did for us. They fought for us, and they acted as second mothers. And we just all love them very much. And we wanted to thank Ms. Linda Broker just for letting us use Monster Gym to practice competition. Caroline Lynch.
That's all right, I'll use it. Chantel Subrin. Jen Trombley. One note, I'd like to take the time to thank Mr. and Mrs. Trombley for putting on a heck of a breakfast for competition. And last but not least, is our only senior point. The last 3 years of varsity cheerleader, and tonight she's receiving the awards that she's very well deserved. And I'll pass it over to you.
Okay, before we get to the varsity boys and girls basketball, I asked our varsity hockey players to please show up tonight. I know they have their own names, but I would like to take a minute to recognize the hockey players who are here. Like I said before, we had nine student athletes from Chazy participating with Beavertown this year. For the students who are not here, we have Jonathan Gay, I don't believe is here. Jonathan is a freshman or sophomore? Freshman. As a freshman, Jonathan was one of the league leaders in scoring with 27 points. We had Christopher Calvitis, who earned his varsity Eagle, which is not here tonight. Nathan Russell participated with Beavertown. We had Sarah Bell and Eric Rigby, who I believe this was Eric's 3rd or 4th year on varsity. For the students who are here, Chad Kucher, come on up. Chad was a backup goaltender. Some of you might not think that's probably not a good position to be in, but you got to remember who the first goaltender was last year. And that is Jeffrey Travante. And again, I don't follow high school hockey as much as I should. Well, I believe Jeffrey had 10 wins. 10 wins, and you were second in the league in wins. Had a great season. This is Jeffrey's third year. And I believe I saw Megan Preacher there. Yes. We had Megan, along with Sarah Bell, as girls playing on the boys hockey team at Megan. Since I'm up here, I will go right into the boys varsity basketball. Now, I know I've done my thank yous to most people, but as the boys coach, I have some more thank yous. I thank Coach Brandell and Coach Mulligan, do a great job with the younger teams. Mr. Brandell, unbelievable for a guy who had never really been around basketball, always a hockey player, and has done some unbelievable things with our younger basketball players, and is solely the person who has taken the interest and got our kids playing AAU basketball. I'd like to give Mr. Brandell for what they do. If you didn't know, the door at the divider in the gym was broke this year. So it is a tough situation practicing with 30 kids in the gym, girls and guys yelling and screaming, and everyone works out pretty well together. They're very forgiving of each other and do a nice job. We have a great coaching staff. I'd like to thank Mr. Trombley. He was my scorekeeper this year. It's been said tonight, it's very important to have a good scorekeeper, and I thank you. Along the same lines, again, the importance of having very reliable students run the score clock and the shot clock, possession arrow. That is probably the most important job of the whole night. And this year we were lucky enough, Rebecca Moulton did soccer for us and came to every basketball game. Thank you very much, Rebecca. Along with Rebecca, she did the main clock. We had kind of fill-ins doing the other clocks. We had Kyle Baker, Casey Tobos, Jacob Spiegel, Kristen Henry. I don't know if Rebecca or Ann Spalding. I might be missing a couple people, but thank you for helping out. And I also want to thank again Jacob Spiegel and Kenny Boyer and any of the other guys who I have most of them in phys ed 7th period, and every time we had a home game, boys or girls, they would help me set up the whole gym. They got so good at it, I would just say, guys, I'll be back in 15 minutes. I'd go in my office, have a soda, and come back. And they had the gym set up. So thank you, boys, very much. Now to get on to my season. You know, at the beginning of the year, I honestly didn't know what to expect. I'm very realistic. Last year, I told the boys, 2 years ago, I told the boys I thought we had a very realistic chance of winning section. We came up short this year when I sat down and saw who I had. I hoped we'd win one game. No, I'm just kidding. But I did tell the boys, I said, sitting here right now, in the league, we could go anywhere from 0-10 to 10-0. I really didn't know what to expect. And we ended up 5-5 in the league. Like I said, we had a season of up and downs. We won a tough game in Willsboro. Score was really bad, 35-30. We set basketball back about 30 years. But we won a tough game. And other nights, and I thank Calvin and Sam and Hometown Cable earlier for doing all of our games. I'd like to shoot them for doing the Westport game. If anybody knows what game I'm talking about, it's been played on TV 50 times.
Just the last 30 seconds.
Where we were up by, I try to block this out of my memory. We were up by 2. with 30 seconds to go. So Westmore had to foul.
By 4.
I'll get to that. They're up by 2
Oh, okay.
with 30 seconds to go. Westmore had nothing they could do. They had to foul. So they fouled Corey Lewis. The ref called it an intentional foul, which means he shoots 2 shots and we get the ball. Corey's not the greatest free throw shooter, so I was hoping he'd make one. He makes the first one. Coach from Westmore calls timeout. He called a timeout. Jim was dead silent, and he told the ref that's the worst call he's ever seen made. So he gets a technical foul. So now we have Corey shooting a second one. He misses, so we're up 3 points. Not bad, we're still going to get the ball back. I picked Andy to shoot 2 technicals. Andy makes the first one, puts us up 4, misses the second one. And we have the ball. So there's 30 seconds left, we're up 4 with a basketball. 14 seconds, whatever. And I just remember saying to myself, there is no, for all you math people out there is no logical way we can lose this game. Thank you for playing the game. I believe it now. I watched it the other night. We had a turnover. The guy dribbled it off his foot, layup. So we're up 2. Inbound the ball to one of our other players. Loses the ball under our basket. So we're tied with 5 seconds left. Call a timeout. 5 seconds is a lot of time. We can score, guys. We can go down to 5 seconds is a lot of time. We can still win this game. You can score in 5 seconds. I was wrong. The other team scored in 5 seconds. Inbound to the ball, off somebody's foot. Westport scored in the ball. So we did have our ups and downs this year. I just kind of had to vent that so I could forget about it. Thank you for listening. But my point is, we had a tough season at times. We had a good season at times. And I looked at, we only had 9 guys. I want to thank Jacob Spiegel, who did play in our sectional game in Willsboro, which was another tough game, hard-fought game. I want to thank Kyle Baker, who I moved up to varsity. And on the second night of practice with varsity, he blew out his knee again. I also would like to thank Tim Oliver and any of the other JV guys. With only 9 guys, it's awful hard to practice when you want to do things. I never had only 9. Every night, 1, 2, 3, or 4 of the guys would volunteer to stay. So I thank you very much for that. I'd like to touch on enough about this season. Next season, we lose Adam, who is our exchange student from the Czech Republic. We lose Tommy Russell, and who else? And I'll get ignored. So I'm really looking forward to next year. Like I said this year, I was very realistic. I said I think we can. I didn't know what to expect. Next year, if everybody puts some time in, the league loses a lot of good talent this year, and I think we return an awful lot. So I like our chances next year. I'd like to mention, I'll go through who is here. First of all, Corey Lewis, please come on up. Talk about Corey a little bit. Corey's a freshman, and this is his second year on varsity. He's got the potential, and I think Corey knows it. He's got the potential to be, and I stand by this, he's got the potential to be the best player in this area. When he does the things he needs to do, improve his attitude at times, better work ethic. This is nothing against Corey. I'm just telling you what you need to do. Because I'm positive you will be the best around him when you realize what you have to do to get there. So, if you haven't watched Corey play, it can be very exciting, and it can be tough at times. But you got to remember, he's only a freshman. Okay? I expect a lot from you, Corey, in the next 3 years. Next, we have Tony Oliver. Come on up, please, Tony. It's always interesting when you have brothers on the team. And at the end of the year, like I said, I brought up Tim. I don't know if they get along or not, but it was always interesting to watch Tim and Tony practice together. I think they were afraid to yell too much at practice, but when they got in the car, probably they started yelling at each other. I might be wrong, I don't know. hopefully I'm wrong. Tony is a junior. This was his first year on varsity. I look forward to Tony coming back and playing next year. Next, we have Mark Nevada. I heard somebody say earlier our best dressed award. I think Mark wins our best dressed award. You ever heard of Chuck Taylor tennis shoes? The Converse. Chuck Taylor, I think, played basketball in 1920. Those are actually his shoes, Chuck Taylor. Joel Lauren, come on up. Again, along the same lines with Corey, I think Joel has all the potential in the world as a basketball player. And again, at times he needs to work on his attitude. And if he and Corey can both do that next year, like I said, I truthfully believe they're going to be very tough to stop this year. And a lot of it depends on you too. Okay? Chris Misek. Let's have yard work. John Bradley, junior. I could go on for a while about John, but just to give you an idea. I watched Joey Bradley, his younger brother, 7th grader, play this year. And people are probably never going to ask me to speak to him. I watched Joey. Most 7th graders can be uncoordinated and a little goofy. And most of the 7th graders are. But if anybody remembers John as a 7th grader, he takes the cake. I remember 5 years ago, my first year here, I did both modified teams, and I had John as a 7th grader. And I felt like saying, John, just don't go back too long. But for those of you who don't know, kid has worked harder than anybody else I have. He comes to me at the end of every practice, Coach, what do I need to do to be better? What do I need to do? Do I need to shoot more? What do I need to do? Every night he asks me that. John played AAU last year, improved tremendously with summer league basketball, and for that goofy 7th grader, got the third most votes in the league. This year he was named first team All-MVAC as a junior, averaged 16 points a game, and I didn't keep stats, but I would safely say between 10 and 15 rebounds a game. And other coaches are very upset that John is coming back. I will promise you one thing. If you work just as hard, you will be the MVP of the league. Adam Berg. This year we had Adam come to us play basketball. I didn't know what to expect from Adam. I don't think Adam got in games as much as he would probably like. The kid, I think you had a very good time playing basketball. I know everybody enjoyed having Adam on the team. He lives with Mr. LaFleche, and Mr. LaFleche would come to me and say, boy, Adam comes home and he's never played. Americans take this pretty seriously. He's a really good at it, practice. So, and Adam was not afraid to get into it either. He didn't get hurt a lot. Every time Adam would jam a finger and yell, I'd look over and Adam would be crawling in the corner. So, I hope you had a good time, Adam. I really enjoyed having you on the team this year. It would have been tough without having you. Thank you very much, guys. Senior Tommy Russell. Now, earlier tonight, Coach Seymour, I like that idea. He gave nicknames. Kind of had a nickname for his players. If I gave nicknames to this team, especially Tommy, I guarantee I'd be fired tomorrow. Let's just say Tommy, as an 18-year-old boy, is mine. works in strange ways. I don't think I need to say more than that, but at practice I'd get a really off-the-wall, sometimes inappropriate comment. I could be in the hallway. Don't know who said it, and I just walk in. Humor, Tommy is always there. If I got upset, things got kind of tough, I always count on Tommy for something interesting. I'm going to really miss Tommy again. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I coached Tommy for 4 out of 5 years, I believe. I'm going to miss Tommy a lot. When you coach somebody for 4 out of 5 years, you'll learn a lot about them. You can ask any of these guys up there. And I said this last year, and it rings true this year. Who you would hate playing most against in practice? Anybody? I'm wrong? Tommy Russell will punch you in the face, leg, spit on you. He plays hard in practice, and that's going to be missed the most about Tommy. Congratulations. I've coached 5 years, I've had Andy all 5 years. I told the story last year. If you weren't here, it'll only take a minute. My second year of coaching, or my first year, when I did Modified A and Modified B, my Modified A team was 0-12. We were so bad, I mean really bad. And I got so mad at them one day. I think I had 10 kids on the team. They came after school and said, "Coach, where are the basketballs? You don't need them. We're going to run until somebody drops." And of course, some of the kids I had a tough time dealing with on a team, I'm hoping it's one of them who drops. Andy's the nicest kid in the world if you don't know Andy. So we're running. I look over, the kid I don't want to get sick, Andy throws up. I will always cherish that memory of Andy. Great memories to have. Andy was a second team MVAC this year, averaged 12 points a game. He and I went down to the senior game together, played the senior game, represented our school very well. But to get away from basketball, Andy is the most mature, intelligent, nicest young man I have met in 5 years, and I hope I don't embarrass you, Andy. I truthfully believe, with no offense to anybody else, you are the best this school has to offer. You represent this school in a great way. You're going to make a positive influence in life, and everybody should strive to do what you do. And I thank you, Andy, and I'm going to miss you a lot. I'm all finished.
First, I'd like to thank Randall, because our team when we were house party this year, spent so much time bringing John and Corey to everywhere in the state, probably elsewhere in the country, for AAU. Thanks for the team for a great experience. I could say Mr. Norcross is the best basketball coach I've had, but that's not really saying much because it's stuck with me the last 5 years. About him, he's always serious about basketball. Since probably October, we've been pounding in the morning in basketball all the way until almost March. But he's always kept a sense of humor. I remember most the Westport game, very serious game. We talked about go on stuff and but we played well. It was probably the biggest game of the season. It comes up to me before the game. There's a referee that in the past game was refereeing a modified Crown Point game, and he saw something on the ground, and he goes to pick it up, and see what it is, and puts his finger in his his finger goes through, and it happens to be diarrhea. Yes, it's a modified play. And Mr. Norcross on his play, he told the team. So before this big series game, we have this referee for our game, and he goes, SUV Captain Avery, I want you to go tell that ref that you have latex gloves and med kit. The only fault that Mr. Norcross could have as coach is he cares too much. After a big game, if he loses or something, he's up all night thinking about it, and he often blames himself even though he has nothing to blame. He does everything he can. And he has a sensibility that is not true of most coaches, especially at the varsity level. I remember last year, don't know, I swim in the off season and playing swim in college, and it's a big part of my life. And I wanted to do high school swimming. And it's the same time as basketball season. And he let me do all kinds of paperwork and allowed me to do it. And it was a big sacrifice for him, and he didn't give me any bad feelings about it. This whole year, we spent a lot of time hassling him all year with recommendations, saying period basketball, scholarships, and to speak of scholarships, he wrote me a letter, and I think he got me a free primary dinner for $500, and I might be in applied for another he has a standard of morals, honor, and self-respect unseen at people his age, coaching at such a young age. I have a prediction to make that his sons, I think, because of the way his character is, become sport and moral leaders achieved in about 10 years or so. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be playing now. And it's been such a growing lesson in character. But if I hadn't played professional basketball, because it's swimming, but it's been such a growing experience with the sport mentality. Seventh graders now, we think Mr. Brandel's hard. When I had Mr. Norcross in 8th grade, it was 10 times harder than what we have right now. Before our first game, we never even scrimmaged. It was all running, all defense. It's crazy. We started standards of dressing up for every game. He always had strict standards for us, which made us better as a team. In my future, I hope to be part of the college swim coach. And if I can become half as great a coach or a person like you, there's words can't describe how I feel. I, or the team, can thank him enough for the love, care, and improvements he made to our basketball program and players in the last 5 years. Thank you. Every time before sessions, we come and visit him at his house, and we watch TV, and we play video games. And he has like 2 Sega Genesis games. So, I figured Jim's more games, but I could only find one person that had it, so I only got that one game, John. I did find someone to buy a N64 for him.
hometown cable. This year our team beat Westport down there, which happened, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later, which is a big accomplishment for us. And I saw Calvin a couple days later, and I'm like, Calvin, you weren't there? And he said, well, you should have told me you were going to win. So, I'd like to thank Becca Egan. She was a JV player that kept our book for us. She often would go off with her team and stayed and kept the book for us, and I really appreciate that. She did a nice job. Mrs. Nephew always brought us lots of goodies. Tim did a nice job on all the bus trips. This year I was really lucky. I had Danielle Teagle. She was a player from last year, and as a senior wasn't eligible to play. She came to every practice. She came to every game. Towards the end of the season, she started really getting into the huddle and yelling at people, so we really liked that. But she did a nice job, and she helped me out. All the parents, we have lots of late practices. I want to thank Mr. Blair. Last summer I went to him and I talked about, I had coached the younger girls for a long time in basketball, and the 7th graders this year have 3 classes, and there's a lot of girls that play, and I went in and I asked him if he would be willing to consider having the modified youth program, and he was very supportive. We had to have another coach, they played a different league, so there were a lot of things that needed to be organized and set up for that. He was very willing to do that for us. Also, in January, I got a letter from the Teddy Bear Factory over in Vermont. They have a special fundraiser. So I went to Mr. Blair and I said, I'd like to take my team. We're going to go over for the day at work. It's a chance for them to earn some money. I'll need a substitute in my class. The girls will need to get out of school. We'll need to take a bus over there and so on. And he was more than willing to do that. So we really appreciate that. And I'll talk more about that after what we're going to do with that. Also, the Athletic Association, at the beginning of the year, half of my team had warm-ups from the year before, the rest of them didn't. So I called them and said, could you give us $200 toward the warm-ups for the girls that don't have them? And a couple days later, I had a check in my mailbox. So we really appreciate that, so that we all had what we needed to do that. Our season had lots of ups and downs, just like the boys. We ended 10-9. Last year, my team went to the finals for the sectional, so I kind of thought that's where we'd be again. And the first couple of practices, I said to the girls, where do you think we're going to be? They're all sitting along the wall, and they go, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? So I kind of had to work on that with them, try and get them to be on the same page as I was. I think some of the biggest highlights for us, we had 1 week of basketball that was phenomenal. I think our record was like 3-4 or something like that, and we were playing the first place team, Westport. We were playing E-Town that week in January 21st, and I went into practice and I wasn't very happy, and I said, you know, you have a lot of potential. I have about 13 players. We're a very good team. We need to do something about our play lately. And I went in and I said, if you don't win the next couple of games and pull it together, you have a chance to be in next to last place and be 3-7 going into sectionals. You're going to have to travel, and I went on and on and on. So we went and we played Elizabethtown at home, and we trailed the entire game. We were down by 3 at the end of the game, and Kristen DeLeon has raced from the bench at half court, and I'm yelling, shoot, shoot! So she takes the ball and she throws it up, and it swishes. Well, it hit the backboard. Everybody's looking at me, and it ties the game when we go into overtime. Everybody's looking at me like I'm being very calm, because I guess I don't believe it even went in. And she's jumping around, and everybody's going crazy. And my thoughts are, now we're in overtime, and we need to get back and get ourselves together and play. Well, a few weeks later, Calvin sent us the tape, and we watched it over and over again. It was one of the most, I'm sure it's something that Kristen will always remember from her senior year. But then, 2 days later, we turn around and we go to Westport, and I've been coaching, I think this is my 7th year. We've never ever beat Westport at home or away, in sectionals, ever, since I've been coaching. And I think it's been 12 or 14 years since the Chazy girls have ever beat them. We get there, it's their senior night, they're passing out their roses. Coach Bovee is there, and everybody's hugging and kissing, and we're kind of ready to start the game. And we go up, and we're ahead in the first quarter. It's 16-11. Second quarter, they come back. We go in the locker room, we're only down by 2. Well, I've been coaching, like I said, 7 years. We've never been that close to Westport ever in all the time that we've been doing it. So we're all excited, and we're, talking about the game, and Monica's saying, come on guys, we're in it, we can do this. And we're all pretty excited. And I said, they're gonna come out really strong in the third quarter. So in the third quarter, we held them. We scored 11, they scored 1. Now that's what they usually do to other teams. And we ended up pulling out that game and winning. So it was a really exciting week for us. And we finished out the season on a pretty positive note. We went into sectionals and played Willsboro down there. The game was very close. It was back and forth all the way. With 12 seconds left, the girl from Willsboro scored, and we ended up losing that game by 1 point or 2 points. So that ended our season. That was a really sad night. I saw lots of long faces, lots of tears. So it makes me upset when you don't win a game like that, but it's good to see that the kids cared about the game. I have to say that in all those 7 years I've been coaching, that these girls are so much fun, and I had a great time with them this year. They made me laugh almost every day. They worked hard to practice. Mr. Seymour said in his speech that I stole 3 of his players, and I'll get to that in a minute because that is true. But he really ran his team this year, and they were in very good shape, and the girls kept coming in and saying, JV's running more than us. Well, I think he was trying to make us look bad, but anyway, it made us work a little bit harder because they didn't want the JV team to be able to outrun them. I'm going to kind of talk about the players in groups, so I'm going to start with the sophomores. So if Carissa, Kristen, and Whitney would come up. All 3 of these girls would have, if they would have stayed on JV, would have been starters on that team. So I asked them to move up, and that's a sacrifice as a 10th grader. You know, I'm not going to start on Mrs. Goodrow's varsity, but am I going to move up and be challenged? And all 3 of them did that for me. Kristen improved all year long. I saw a lot of really good things out of her. I think when she comes back next year, she works hard over the summer, that she's definitely going to be competing for one of those starting positions. She's our scholar athlete. Carissa did a nice job for us this year too. She played the 3 spot lots of times when I didn't want her, or she didn't want to, and she made a lot of faces at me, but she did it anyway. Carissa was really funny. She made the team laugh all the time. I forget where we were. I think we're up in Chateauguay, and we're sitting there, and we're waiting for the game to start. And she's got these really weird teeth. Like these, I don't know how to describe it, but I said, I dare you to wear those on the jump ball. I'll let you jump if you wear them. She kept us laughing all the time. I always tell her she has the longest arms in the NBAC because if you look at her, when she plays defense, she does a really good job. I always put her in the middle on our press, and she often steals the ball. Carissa got honorable mention this year for the NBAC. Whitney came off the bench for me. She's the point guard. She plays the 2 spot. She was coming in and taking, she stepped up. Monica was sick 3 times this year. So Whitney came in and started or played the 2 spot for us and did a really nice job. Whitney's an awesome defender. She doesn't like to shoot, so I keep telling her, and I can say that about almost every single player on my team, and I'll talk about that at the very end, but Whitney's an awesome defender. She's going to do really well next year as an 11th grader. I think that she needs to learn to shoot because we're going to need some offense next year. And all 3 of these girls did an awesome job for me. Come on, I'll give you this. Here, Whitney. Bethany's not here tonight. She had to work. She Bethany was the second leading scorer on our team. She averaged 9 points a game. She was a second team all-star. Abby and Ann and, oh, Leah's not here either, so I guess I'm not her now. Leah Tom-Lee hasn't played a lot of basketball. I think she's only played 2 or 3 years. Leah did a nice job for us. She's very fast. She's a good defensive player. As a senior next year, I hope she comes back because she really makes things happen on the floor. Ann and Abby came up this year from the JV program last year. Both are very hard workers and work in practice all the time. Ann had a time in the winter when she was really sick, so she missed a lot of time. Abby was towards the end of the season really sick, and I think if they work over the summer and go to the season league, that both of them will do very well next year for us. So I will give those to theirs. Abby? And I guess we'll have, we'll skip on. No, I'm just kidding. Monica's been playing point guard for me for 3 years. She's been a starting point guard, and she's done an awesome job for us. She was first team all-star this year. She averaged 13.4 points a game. Not only did she work hard distributing the ball to her teammates with assists, she got a lot of rebounds. She scored for us. She played good defense. A lot of the coaches around the league have said to me, oh, you have a couple of really strong players coming back, and Monica's one of them. So I think that if she keeps working and shooting, that she should have a great year next year. The 4 seniors, did they come up? Yes, but she had a great year with us. It was a lot of fun. She always came out and worked hard in practice. Even if she wasn't sure what to do, she'd ask somebody or she'd work really hard for us. I hope that she had a lot of fun with us this year, because I know that we did. And I hope when she goes back to France that she'll remember all the fun that we had. Next, I'll go to Danielle Nephew. Danielle came back as a senior this year. She didn't play last year, or the year before as an 11th grader. She worked hard every day in practice. She is under the basket in 2 whole schools. She always asked me what she could do to get better. She always came in with a smile. She started a game down in Screw Lake for us, and whenever she played, no matter how many minutes, she ended up with 3 or 4 points a game, and she always worked hard, and I think she enjoyed coming back this year. I know I enjoyed having her on the team. Next, I'll go to Lauren Locke. Lauren played guard for I've only coached her 2 years or 3 years. Lauren always played the 2-spot or guard, and this year I didn't have that many forwards, and so she said, well, Coach, I'll try that. And she'd come in and she'd work hard, and she really wanted to play in that position and always worked hard in practice. She ended up missing a few games in the middle of the season. She came back and worked even harder. I didn't think it really bothered her when she wasn't playing. She came up to me once and said, I know what I need to do now. I think that Lauren worked hard all season and really contributed to the team. Last I have Kristen Villion. Kristen had a torn ACL. She sat out all last year. That was a very difficult thing for her. She was rehabilitated all summer. She played a couple of season games at the end of the year, or at the end of the summer. She went through her soccer season, and she came back really ready to play this year. Kristen had a couple of really big games when we played in the tournament in Elizabethtown. She had a 20-point game. She got honorable mention for the NBAC All-Stars. She had that big shot against Town here. She just worked hard all season long. We wrote some letters and nominated her for the official scholarship, and she received that a few weeks ago. That goes to all the girls are eligible that play in the CDAC and the two teams in the MBAC, Goldsboro and Chazy. And Kristen was selected for that, and she went the other night and received it. She went down and played the senior game with a lot of fun. She and Danielle both. I think that Kristen is going on to Clinton next year. She wants to play basketball there. We talked about how it's going to be a little more competitive than it is here, and she's ready to meet that challenge. Kristen, feel better. Just in closing, a couple of the younger girls are playing this year as well, and I've gone and watched them play, and the other day they came home with a shirt, and this is the quote that was on the back of it, so I kind of wrote it down because it's what I really think is, a lot of us go out and we practice indoor soccer, or we go and we, throw a baseball around, but I think that if you want to be a good basketball player, you need to take some of the ideas that Mr. Randall said, and the quote on the shirt is, it's what you do in the off-season that makes you a better player. If you look at the girls' MBAC next year, Westport lost 6 seniors, Willsboro lost their key players, and one of my players said to me, we've got it next year. Well, I don't believe that unless they're going to get out and work, because every other team is going to have somebody that's going to go out and shoot a basket and work and get better. So, I think we have a very good chance of doing well next year if people put the time in and work. You can't just think, oh, we did well this year, we're going to come back next year. It's all summer long. Everybody else is playing and getting better. And that's what these people here need to do. They need to go out and work at. If you do, I guess you're ready.
On behalf of the team, we'd like to thank you, JoJo. Thank you for sticking with us this season. You provide a lot of success and also a lot of time. We're there to guide us through it all. The team is always yours as leader, and without you, we wouldn't have the same amount of success this season. And to the seniors, Kristen Villion, Lauren Block, Daniel Matthews, Phil Conrad, and Danielle Lima. Thank you guys for providing us with a lot of spirit and guidance both on and off the court. We appreciate all the hard work and dedication you guys have put in for the years. Wish your heart, your love. I'll make this short. I won't be as long as Andy, but this is on behalf of the senior music room. Danielle told only had you for this one season, but Kristen and I have had you for 4 years, and I'm sure they see just as much as we have. And I think we put her through the most stress that any team has, and she's had for a long time. We've been the most inconsistent team ever. She gets so mad one practice, and she'll make us run. The next practice, we'll be just laughing at her the whole time. She'll be running around the court, and she's the most goofy person I've ever met. She's worse than us. She's so giddy, but she keeps us laughing, keeps us smiling all the time, and she never lets us down. Whatever we do, and but I think just for the most part that I've had the most fun with her as a coach that I have with anybody that I've ever known. And we'll miss you quickly. You're not just our coach, but you'll be our very good friend.
We have some awards to give out to Ben tonight. First of all, we have a soccer award presented to Jeff Krywanzik, selected to All-State Small School, which is all Class C schools and Class D schools. Jeffrey was a first team boys high school soccer 2002. selected by New York State Sports Writers and Coaches Organization. We have a senior award for one of our cheerleaders, Jamie LeBoyne. Jamie Lee? Well, to recognize Jamie, we have a senior athletic award. I believe she was a varsity cheerleader for 4 years. I might be wrong. I wish you luck. All the best. Trophy to recognize, it's already been mentioned, John Bradley, MBAC First Team All-Star. And MBAC First Team All-Star, another division, girls, Monica. That will conclude the evening, but before everybody goes, I know Mrs. Baker always says make sure they come up and get more cake or soda. I know the boys in my team are proud of that. Also, hold on one sec, please. Uniforms. I do not have all the uniforms yet, mostly the JV boys and varsity boys. And again, bottle drive Saturday morning at 9 o'clock in the back parking lot. Thank everyone. Thank you.